board tilts, and the game reveals its true cruelty. Not the game of mortals, their kingdoms, their armies, their broken banners. No, this is the contest above all of that. A shadow war between Guy Crimson, the demon who rules through sheer inevitability, and Emperor Rudra, the immortal gambler who has staked centuries on a single outcome. And in their wake, dragons, demons, nations, all drawn into a struggle with only one rule. No direct confrontation. Everything else is fair. It sounds elegant, even restrained. But the truth is darker. That single restriction forces monsters of unimaginable power to shape entire civilizations as pawns. A move played here takes decades to mature. A gambit made there costs millions of lives, all for the chance that one survivor might awaken and stand as a weapon in the hands of their masters. This is not a war. It is the slow bleed of history itself. And yet, within that slow grind of schemes and centuries, there is one voice that refuses patience. Velgrynd, the flame dragon. Sister to Velzard, rival to Veldora, ally and confidant to Rudra. For her, this eternal game is an insult. To hide behind shadows and whispers when she has fire enough to scorch the heavens, it feels like chains wrapped around her wings. She admits it plainly. Scheming behind the scenes is pointless. And still, she obeys. Not because she fears Guy Crimson, not because she doubts her own strength, but because she cannot betray the man she loves. That is her true chain. Rudra, Ludora, the Emperor, the gambler who has already lost more times than anyone dares count, but who rises again with the stubbornness of a curse. She laughs at herself for clinging to something as trivial as love, but the truth is brutal. Velgrynd does not fear death. She fears losing him. That admission haunts every choice she makes. And then, like a whisper in a storm, there is Veldora, her brother, once the most chaotic force in existence, now silent, hidden within Rimuru's labyrinth. Velgrynd cannot understand it. His restraint is unnatural, and in its silence lies the most dangerous possibility of all. If Veldora has allied with Rimuru, then every calculation Rudra has made, every risk he has embraced, may collapse into ash. She cannot dismiss it, no matter how hard she tries. The Emperor presses forward anyway. His philosophy has always been cruelly simple. Armies are tools, expendable. Their slaughter is not a tragedy, but a forge. In the crucible of despair, a handful of survivors might awaken, transcending the limits of humanity. If even one soldier rises, the sacrifice is worth it. Velgrynd watches this with a grim fascination, her anticipation laced with cruelty. The more people who receive Ludora's powers, the better a chance we'll have to win. That is the essence of their strategy. Play the long game, nurture awakenings, endure until the tide shifts. But then, the unthinkable. Silence. The Empire's million-strong army annihilated without a trace. No survivors, no awakenings, not even a handful of broken bodies crawling out of the fire. Just nothing. Velgrynd can only stare. Neither of us was expecting a defeat so huge that absolutely no one's left alive. For the first time, the Flame Dragon has no words. This wasn't just a setback, it was proof that the board itself had changed. Rimuru, the labyrinth, Ramirez's shield, the primals, now aligned with Rimuru. Even Caligulio awakened under his banner. Everything they had calculated, every plan they had stretched across centuries, had been broken in an instant. What was supposed to be a slow game of attrition had collapsed into chaos, and the imbalance was undeniable. The Emperor names it plainly. Rimuru Tempest could no longer be ignored. Imagine the sting of that admission. Rudra, who has outlasted kings and heroes, who has thrown entire continents into his wagers, forced to acknowledge an upstart slime. Velgrynd, who has always scorned patience, forced to wonder if even her brother has bent knee to Rimuru. The irony cuts deep. They who have treated mortals as pawns now find themselves cornered by a player they never accounted for. And here lies the tension, the pull of the trap. A normal strategist would retreat, regroup, weigh the loss. But Rudra has no retreat left. And Velgrynd has waited too long for fire. Escalation is the only answer left. If patience failed, then boldness must succeed. The Emperor whispers of schemes, traitors, bait, diversions. Velgrynd answers with fire. Well, how about we make those fools shed some blood to warm up? This is the pivot, the point where patience dies. The Empire will recall its forces, crush its rebels, strike Dwargon, the Dwarven Kingdom, to divide Guy's gaze. And Velgrynd herself, restrained for ages, is finally loosed upon the world. No more watching, no more schemes, just fire and ruin. You can almost hear her exhale when that decision is made. Frustration melts into exhilaration. The hesitation, the dread, the chains of patience, they all burn away. What remains is pure fire. The board trembles. The game, once hidden, bursts into the open, and history will call the coming storm by one name: the Red Purge. This is not just escalation. It is the moment the cosmic game, bound by centuries of rules, begins to break under its own weight. It is the prelude to tragedy, the crack in the dam, the firestorm that will consume both pawns and kings alike. For Velgrynd, it is love and loyalty twisted into violence. For Rudra, it is a gambler's final raise, chips pushed into the fire. And for Rimuru, still rising, still underestimated, it is the storm that will test everything he has built. The game no longer belongs to shadows, it belongs to fire, and fire once loose does not return to its chains.